Hello, hi there. Welcome, welcome. We'll start in a few minutes. We're just waiting for more folks to come through. Maybe while we wait, attendees, you can just drop a one-line intro in the chat, like what, where you from, and what do you do? That would be nice. Awesome. I see there are researchers on the call and some UX designers. Exciting. I have played both roles in the past, so for me, both are equally exciting. Okay, Vietnam, hi. So nice. We're at 10 attendees. Let's just give it one more minute and then we can get going. Yeah. This is where I cue the awkward elevator music while we wait in the lobby. All right, maybe let's just get started. I will quickly do a quick intro. So, hi everyone, my name is Menaka and I'll be the host today, guiding you through today's session. And along with me, I have TJ, my colleague. She'll also be helping answering the questions that you are putting in the chat later on during the session. So, yeah, the term live UX makeover might make you think about colors or visuals, but the real makeover happens when we actually put our designs in front of our users. And today we'll be running a usability test together to see exactly how that process reveals itself, right? And where the process reveals what needs fixing. Um, and then over the next 45 minutes, we'll take a look at some common pitfalls in usability testing and explore like tips on how to avoid these common pitfalls. And to make the session a lot more engaging, what I'll be doing is sharing some of the tips and then switching over and showing it in action using the UXArmy platform. And before I continue, just a couple of housekeeping notes. So we'll have definitely have time for Q&A at the end. But if you have questions along the way, feel free to drop them in the Q&A chat or the chat. That's fine. And don't worry about taking any notes. We'll be sharing the recording as well as the resources that I show in this session later as well. Yeah. All right. Let's dive in. So to begin with, what is usability testing? I'm sure maybe it's a mixed audience. I don't want to assume everyone knows what it is, but I'm sure everyone has opened a website or an app at some point and thought like, why is this thing so hard to use? And that's exactly what usability is. In a gist, right? Usability started in the field of ergonomics during World War II, and by the 70s and the 80s, it became central to how we design computers for everyday people. And now, and there are many facets to usability. And at its heart, it's about how easy something is to learn, how efficient it is to use, how well people can remember it, and how many errors they make along the way, and how satisfied do they feel with the experience. And today, usability isn't just about websites or apps, it's also about how easy any product, system, or service is to use. So, overall, it's about making something efficient, effective, and give a sense of satisfaction for the users of that product or service, whatever it is. And how do usability tests help us understand? What do they help us understand? It shows us if people can actually use the design or the product, successfully, where they succeed, where do they get stuck, and how does that make them feel? It reveals whether the product matches their expectations and whether it supports business goals like trust, conversion, and retention. Um, so, in short, usability testing helps us move beyond we think this works into we know this actually works because that's how users are experiencing it. Um, there are different forms of usability testings. There's in-person lab studies. It's a controlled setup where you observe participants directly, and it's great for catching like body language or subtle cues in their expressions. Um, it's also possible to do some of this in the remote moderated sessions and unmoderated sessions, which are more self-guided for unmoderated. And then we have expert reviews where specialists review the system or the designs against certain heuristic principles. And it's great for a quick evaluation of your product or service. And then we have emerging methods like AI moderated sessions where the agents facilitate the conversations and follow up and probe questions. And there's also automated analysis, which helps you kind of summarize the insights based on the recordings and surfaces it up, right? So the key here is to pick the right method for the questions you want to answer always. So there might be different methods you can use, maybe mixed methods, but that's something I hope that you will learn from this session as well, how to pick uh, yeah. So today we'll deep dive into some common pitfalls to avoid. So before I do that, maybe in the chat you guys can answer this. How many of you have conducted any kind of usability testing before? You can drop a yes or a no in the comment if you've done it before. Okay, awesome. A lot of yeses. That's amazing. Anyone who has not tried this before? Ah, okay. Nice to know, Faye. Awesome. All right, not to worry. I mean, even if you've done this before, I hope some of the tips will help you anyway. And you'll see how it works on UXArmy as well, as I'm going to show you. So before I continue, these are the common stages of usability testing across moderated or unmoderated testing. And everything starts with planning and making sure that you have a goal in mind, a very clear goal in mind, and what you're going to do. And a test design where you actually plan out the tasks and then also plan out the audience that you're going to target, etc. So these go hand in hand, followed by execution stage where you will be actually conducting the test, as in participants join, they take the test, your sessions are recorded. And then finally, there's analysis and reporting where you will deep dive into what you've learned through all these sessions. So now I'm going to walk you through the pitfalls during each of these stages. So during planning, the first one to avoid doing is jumping straight into testing with vague objectives or having too many objectives, right? So it's important to be clear about what are you actually testing and define one or two must learn goals so your test always stays focused. Another important one, which I think a lot of seniors, I'm sure you relate, is multiple stakeholders' agendas that start to dilute your test or the focus of your test. Um, I've personally experienced this where in a company I previously worked at, multiple PMs have their own sort of, hey, I want to learn this from the user. So it's kind of the job of the designer or the researcher, whoever is doing the research, to kind of streamline the list of requests that come through and may pull out stuff that actually makes sense for your participant. And yeah, so the thing that I recommend doing is running a short kickoff session once you have this kind of alignment. You want to plan this alignment. So you make a brief, share it with them, make sure everyone is aligned. And lastly, it's important not to confuse what is usability testing with discovery research, and keep it very focused on doing testing on ease of use and not something like desirability or market validation. Those are completely different types of tests entirely. So good planning means asking the right questions upfront. And if you're clear, then the rest of the test actually runs a lot smoothly. So today, what I'll be doing is I'm going to share a research planning template that I've prepared as the first step of the entire process. And we'll let me switch over just a second. You guys can, I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. So what this template is for is to align the stakeholders, right? So in this hypothetical scenario, we're going to test a travel website, Agoda, and as part of this test plan, I have certain sections. I'm not going to go into every detail, but I want to spend some time on probably the participants. So, generally speaking, there are backgrounds and objectives that give the context for anyone reading this document. Like if you share it with other stakeholders who are not directly involved in the research, for them to understand, okay, what is the team actually focusing on? This is a great beginning part of the content to show. And then you write down the list of all the research questions that you may have collected. Then comes the details about the methodology that you're going to use. In this case, today we'll deep dive into unmoderated remote usability testing. And I'll be using, as I mentioned, the UXArmy platform. We look at collecting this kind of information about task performance, some feature usage, like how are they using that particular feature, and then maybe some open-ended comments, right? These are all the things we want to collect. Then when it comes to the participant profile, one thing to keep in mind is to always match your screener questions to also the kind of audience you want to interview. So for example, it's always good to have main decision makers as part of one of the criterias in your like if that's one of the criterias for you to recruit participants. Let me skip ahead. So this is the screener that I've prepared. So it would be like saying, making sure that asking a question like, when you're booking online, are you usually the one making the booking, right? You want this question to actually correlate back to one of the criteria. So that's an important point to take note. And while preparing the screener, especially. And then you have your test tasks and scenarios that you write down. Again, keeping the goals in mind, here we have a goal about understanding whether people can actually navigate from homepage to search result to hotel listing page. So with that goal in mind, the tasks that I will create are related to that, right? So initially we start off by making sure that people understand what is this about, and then we go into the details of each task. But don't worry, I don't want to overwhelm you with too much right away. I'm going to show you in a minute anyway. And lastly, we have things like success metrics and timelines and deliverables that you will have as information on this document. So switching back, so now that we have our plan in place, let's look at what pitfalls to avoid during test design and recruitment. So when writing tasks, right, it's quite important to avoid using any language that is vague or giving tasks that is unrealistic. So what do I mean by a vague task? It's something like, hey, as you log in, please explore the site. Now that's very vast and unclear. Or you can go the other way and you write tasks that give away the path, are very specific and you say like, hey, click on the pricing tab. So if you do that, you're definitely going to end up with everyone clicking the pricing tab, but that's kind of the pitfall you don't want to fall into. And obviously, using a goal-based task is helpful. So, for example, if I was writing a task for this scenario, I'll say find a hotel in London under $150 for next weekend. Right. So that's being specific, but at the same time, not so specific that they know exactly where to click on the website. So that's point number one. The other thing to avoid would be overloading the session with way too many tasks. And that makes the participants generally get fatigued, especially when you're doing unmoderated testing. Having definitely too many tasks is overwhelming. And the quality of the results also starts to drop. So maybe 5 to 8 tasks generally is a good number to have. Or you split your tasks in a way that fits within this number. Next, I would say a must not do is skipping screener questions. This is definitely important because you don't want to be testing with the wrong audience. As I shared in the research plan earlier, one of the criteria was to test with people who are the decision makers, right? So that had to be a question in the plan as well, in the screener question as well. Otherwise, we will miss out on the fact that are the people we are talking to actually the right audience. Yeah. And generally screeners tend to be about what devices they use or location or habits, just so you understand a bit more about their background, and that helps you also break the ice when you're doing moderated interviews sometimes. Uh, and the last point is about testing only with colleagues or internal, like or generic panel users. So this again is a avoid must avoid scenario because that can give you very sort of biased uh, results, because the person you're testing with, if they're your colleagues, they may already know your system very, very well and give you responses uh, almost like perfectly. So you want to avoid that. So it's best to always broaden your reach by getting a mix of self-source participants, people who use your product, or mix it up with a panel of users who have never used your product, right? So both together will give you like a scale of users and also reduce the bias while you do that. So the stronger the tasks and the way you write them, if you get that right, then half your battle to run the research is also won. So now we'll see the principles that I just spoke about in action. So I'm going to switch over to UXArmy. So once you log into the platform, this is our dashboard. And from here, since in this particular scenario, I've decided I want to run a usability testing, I'm going to click here. And from here, we have multiple ways of creating a test, but this is the one I want to go with because I want to record this session. So I'll create a study. Because we're testing Agoda, which is a website, I'm going to pick this. And I want my participants to take the test on a desktop. So that's what I'm doing. So let's create the test. Yeah, so now that we are in the create mode, as I mentioned before, the first thing I want to do is screen out people who are, not the right audience. Let me quickly just name this task as travel website study. So that's a name that I will see in my internal, tracking as well to know what kind of a study it is. And when I'm creating the screener question, for example, let's say the first question was, have you booked a accommodation in the last 12 months, right? That's a very basic one. So I can just press yes or no. Oops, no. And in the case of someone who doesn't, like we don't want them to qualify, we can just reject them and then move on. So like this, you can keep adding more questions and creating the entire screener. And coming back to the tasks at hand, I'll just show you how to create maybe two of the tasks that I had listed out in the research plan earlier. just to give a sense of what can you do on UXArmy when adding the tasks as well, and share a bit of a tip along the way. So let's start with the first task. So we want to understand how people even like when they're exposed to this travel website, what is their first reaction, right? So in that case, the first task that I would choose is like a first click task. In and maybe I will ask them, where would you click to begin the search? In this particular case, I might choose to add an image. Um, let's say the homepage, right? I want to know where on this homepage are they going to click to go forward. And I just save that, and that's added now into the task. And just for some context, right? Because the user will see a welcome message when they start the study once they qualify the screener. And then after this welcome message, they go straight into the task. So before they immediately see the task, if we want to set some context for the user, it would be great to add a little note. And I can quickly drag this and then give them that context by saying, hey, imagine you're planning a short trip and want to book a hotel online, right? And then say, let's start by looking at the homepage. So this clearly sets the tone for what they're going to do next. And once they are in this mode of knowing what to do, then it becomes easier because now they just read the instructions and then do the action. So that is what I wanted to explain, that like always when you're adding tasks, make sure to add some contextual note for the users as well, always. And another task that I wanted to add was for the website. So since we want to measure the like how are people what's the journey like, sorry, for the people going from the homepage all the way into the listing detail page. So this is how this is a task I had. So find a hotel in Bangkok city center for 2 adults, 3 nights under $120, right? So this is a specific scenario, as I mentioned before. And after they complete that task, I also give them the space to sort of explore the listing that they clicked into. So the idea is to now I'll put in the website that I want to get them to test. In this case, it's Agoda. And here we can set different types of criteria. Because my test task is a bit open-ended, I would like to measure the task completion time in this case, right? So I want to measure within 2 minutes how many people actually complete this task. Now, if they manage to navigate from the homepage all the way to the listing page under 2 minutes, to me that shows a good sign that the flow is actually working. Or if they get stuck or they don't know how to apply certain filters when they're trying to narrow down to the listing, that would show maybe there are issues in the task. So this is how you create tasks. I'll quickly just show you how you can add participants. So in the case of this, I want to maybe recruit 7 participants. So I'll just add under my self-source participants, 7 of them, and then I hit go live. And once I confirm, the test actually goes live. I do that, and then I can copy this link and share it out to my participants to actually take this test and check it out. And as you notice, the badge here actually shows active. So this test is now live for people to experience and see how it goes. Yeah, so that is kind of the flow from sort of task creation all the way to like recruitment. I hope that some of what I explained is, you know, connecting with you guys. If you have questions, again, please put them in the chat. I'll be sure to answer them later in the call. Next, we look at what happens during the analysis and reporting stage. So these are some pitfalls that you want to avoid where, once you have responses generated, you don't want to assume that, one person's experience applies to everyone and confuse what is an opinion. Like, for example, I might say, I don't like this color pink. if the button is pink or something. But is that really a usability issue, or can it be deeper? Like maybe I'm saying I don't like it because it's hard to read. Now that is a issue that you want to take note of and highlight in your analysis. But if they're just stating an opinion, like I just don't like pink because it's girly, or then it's still at a person's opinion. That doesn't mean it's necessarily a problem unless you hear multiple users of your platform, repeatedly pointing this out. Yeah. So what you should do instead is sort of make sure you affinity map, which is basically clustering uh, repeated information that you see across the sessions into a spreadsheet, or I'll show you on UXArmy how this looks as well. And then when you're capturing notes, make sure you don't confuse, you don't have to take like every single detailed note in the session, as I mentioned. Like you want to look for places where they hesitate or where they're overwhelmed, or if they said something positive as well, it's okay to note that, but like not the user clicked here, the user clicked there. That's too much information. Instead, you should probably leverage AI features on usability platforms these days to kind of help you highlight the recurring phrases or the behaviors, and speed up your synthesis essentially. Then another point is not to ignore like drop-offs or low completion rates, especially in the case of unmoderated testing, because that also points to a problem sometimes, that why are people constantly dropping off. So just don't focus on just the results, but also look at the data, right? So the quant data along with the qual data will actually paint the picture of like what you need to validate if your observation is correct or not. And then the last point here is about focusing on what they said. I mean, it's similar to the previous one. Don't just focus on what they said, like their opinions, but also like what did they do. So look at the task completion time, error rate. All of these metrics also actually help you understand what exactly is happening as you look at the session. Yeah. So analysis is not just about collecting data, but mainly about finding patterns that you can act on with confidence. Yep. So now with that, let me actually again switch over to UXArmy platform. I will show you a test for this was the one we previously created. Now let's see the same test. This is how it looks when I have already completed the setup. As you can see, I have a more detailed screener that I've set up. I have added other notes and other tasks. So once all the recruitment is done and all the responses are received, you will then begin to see results show up like this. And on the top, you have an overview just to understand like what is happening with this test. And you can, like I mentioned earlier, you can leverage AI features to actually understand quickly like what happened. So 4 out of 5 actually found this relatively easy, so that's a good sign. But maybe there are areas that they pointed out that it doesn't work, right? So here we can see a quick clip just to see where are the problem areas and understand that in more detail. Other than this, we can also deep dive into the tasks and see, like, let's say, for the homepage, right? How are the interactions going on amongst all the participants? Oops, sorry about that. I think this task is not done yet. So maybe we can see the playback of the video just to see each participant, how have they performed, whether they actually met the criteria. So like if you remember, I set the time as 2 minutes, but maybe some people took longer, and you want to deep dive and see like exactly what happened. So you can watch the clip here, or we can also open this in a much more detailed view as a video player, and you can actually see the entire transcript of the recording and what exactly went wrong, right? So that's kind of generally how you look at the results. And how we start to actually now take the results into a analysis view is from the video player. We can actually highlight information, like, for example, this participant has said that the prices look a bit shady, right? So I can actually create a custom tag, or I can highlight what are the other issues with the system. And once you've done this, uh, on the main study, you have a tab called analysis, right? So these are some things I've already tagged ahead of this session just to show you guys. So this is how you can actually tag similar issues that comes up, and clicking on these lets you create an insight. For example, I noticed in couple of sessions, currency conversion became a point of confusion for some users, because the task clearly called out that I want them to actually take the test with $120 as the amount. Some participants were overseas and they were confused. Okay, how do I change this to dollars, right? So in a way, that's still a learning for the people. Like, let's say I was part of the Agoda team. It's a good learning to know that maybe the position of the currency can be improved, or you can show it as a suggestion for people who are not applying a price filter. I mean, I'm just throwing ideas out there, but yeah, so this is kind of how you select and create patterns, and you can always watch the clipping for any of the uh, things that you've clipped as well. So for example, from here, if I create video clips, in this particular one I haven't, but yeah, for some of them, wherever I've created video clips, for instance, you can see the clips here, but you can also see it within your analysis tag to that particular tag, right? Like navigation, for example. If I've tagged it, you can do that from here and then see it back here. So overall, I think it's quite important to make sure that the data you collect, you deep dive into the results qualitatively, and then quantitatively, and also qualitatively. When you watch the recordings back, you look through all the information, the verbatims of what people have said, and digest both before you form like a strategy or a plan, like what are you going to do next. It's great to sort of take all this information and put it into a report. As I mentioned, that's a stage probably people do outside as well, like they create their own deck for sharing with stakeholders, and you can easily even share a public link to the report itself. So if people want to come here and see the information for themselves, they can very easily do that via the public sharing link. Yeah, so that's kind of the whole analysis part. So with that, I will pause and get you guys to, help answer some of the questions that you may have put in the chat.
So I think we have a question
Mhm.
from Andy. So
Mhm.
I think he was interested to see how can I see how participant experience when they take the test? Perhaps you can
Sure.
share a video. Yeah.
Sure. Let me play back maybe one of the tasks. Um, I'm not sure if my or sound will be heard. Just give me a second. Figure it out. Um,
While Menaka figures out the audio. So yes, with website testing, you are able to see the experience. It's up to you whether you want to turn on the screen and audio recording, or you just, do it without, for example, Figma testing.
yeah, I'm not sure if I shared the right setting, but I'm going to play the clip anyway, just so you guys can see what this looks like. So this is a participant view. for the person seeing the task information that we put. And once they read this information, uh, they can click start task. Yeah, like so. And then they'll actually be switched over to the URL that you had put. In this case, it was Agoda. So this recording is now showing all the way how their search experience was. So as you can see, they use the search bar. They're applying some filters for dates. Though I didn't mention that in my task, I see that's a natural pattern for most of the users.
So the audio isn't coming through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not able to figure this out on Zoom, but maybe my voiceover helps. Yeah, so they would search for like Bangkok or whatever, and then once if I jump ahead, once the search result loads, you can see here they're still under the 2-minute mark. So they were able to actually get from homepage into search in the 2-minute mark and complete this task. uh, I didn't stop them from browsing the listing, so that's what they continue to do. But as an internal check for me, I was just looking to see, are these people actually able to navigate within 2 minutes to this particular screen? Uh, yeah, so sorry, using two screens. Yep, so this is how the participant view generally looks. There are instructions that they can see, they can collapse and open. So yeah. Okay, I see more questions.
Yeah. Are we able to record participants' camera while they carry out the task?
Yes, yes, good, great question, Raki. I think I missed that. So in the test settings, when you are actually creating your test, right, you can turn on this webcam feature. So when you're doing this, the participant can not just record not just the screen, but you will also see their face as they are taking the test. For this particular test, I had it turned off, the webcam feature, but definitely it's a possible feature on our platform. And then another quick shout out is you can set up the transcription language as well. Like we support multiple languages. So if you want to get the transcript in any particular language, you can get that easily. And test language here refers to what is the UI going to be shown in for that participant, right? Like maybe you're interviewing someone in France per se, right? So you can choose French. So the UI elements also get translated into French. Yeah. Yeah. I hope that answers your question. Anyone else have any other question?
Well, if there's no more questions, then we'd like to ask you a question. So this is like some of the high level of the best practices. Curious to know, what are the specific things that you want to know more about, or things you came specifically that you wanted to, learn about? Can you just put it in the chat?
Yeah, everyone's a little shy today. That's all right. I mean, if you can't think of something on the spot, no worries. When we share the recording with you and all the resources, we'll also leave a link to a survey later. Maybe you all can share your feedback there as well. But I'm around. If you have any questions, just feel free to drop it in the chat. More than happy to answer. Yeah. Oh, now I see questions. Awesome. What metrics are most useful to track in unmoderated testing? So, mm, Alokika, if you're on the chat, I will introduce you to the research expert on our team, Alokika, and maybe she can also give a answer here. Um,
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Menaka, can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so Mahima, to answer your question, I think for unmoderated usability testing, since the name itself has usability in it, I think one of the metrics that's important that we track is the time that's taken to complete a particular task. So let's say, for example, the one that Menaka showed, right? Like how much time does it take for someone to complete or to look for a hotel on the Agoda website? So with the time taken, like you can actually calculate, and also there are industry measures available on the internet, wherein you can compare if the amount of time taken to complete this task on your website correlates to it or not. If it takes more amount of time for people to look for a hotel or search for a hotel, then it definitely means that something is wrong. Then second thing that you can also consider is the number of clicks or the misclicks, the interaction while the interaction is happening. So all of that gives you, a bit of idea on if people are able to kind of find what they're looking for easily or not. So yeah, and yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think I'll just add on to that. Thanks, Alopika. Is if you want to also track things like heat maps, sometimes our system takes a bit of time to generate it. I apologize, but yeah. So once the heat map is generated, you can actually see the sort of the overview of where people are clicking. This is also a good way to understand, um, how where are they clicking? Is it in the right place as you expected it to be? Or you can use a navigation tree feature to also sort of see um, how are they navigating the website links itself. Uh, yeah. Okay. I hope that answers your question, Mahima. Okay, great. Let's move on. I
I'm
think
just trying to see if I can share my screen. Can you guys
ah,
see?
not yet. I think I need to stop sharing, right? Okay, I think I stopped screen sharing, PJ. So maybe you need to share
Yeah.
again.
I'm screen sharing. Can you guys see? No?
No.
Okay.
Okay, maybe it's showing to the audience. Sorry, I'm a panelist, so I can't see it. My bad.
TJ screen is showing. Okay. So if I can just quickly show you in that case, let me just get this cleaned up out of the way. All right. So the navigation tree, this is an example. So for example, the click heat map this is what she's referring to. You can understand where they are clicking. And then the navigation tree is also something that people use a lot to understand the path. So where they start from, as you can see how many people out of total, in this case 6, right, has gone down this path. A lot of customers also add success criteria. Menaka had kind of shown it before. In her case, she used time as a success criteria. In this case, they've used path, so a specific URL page. All right, so you can use that also as a metrics. And the other thing, so success failure is common use metrics. And then the other thing is there's also a thing called SUS score. So we have it in our platform that you can choose as one of it's a pre-filled questions used in the industry. And you can compare your score to that of the benchmark for your industry.
Okay, I see there are no questions. What metrics are most useful to track? Oh, sorry, we covered it. How would you have done this in person? So for an unmoderated test, I think if I combine methods, right, I would have sent them this test directly during a moderated interview. Or if I'm sitting side by side in person, I would give them this link to test live. So while I use the system to actually track those behavioral metrics, I would use the time in person to observe their face and body reaction, which I might not get necessarily always, right? But the good thing is our recorded tests come with camera view. So you can see some of their face while they're recording it as well. So I guess the situation depends on what are you testing and what's the scenario for your product. Yeah. Great. Okay. And Raki has another question. What is the turnaround time for a study like this, where UXArmy is sourcing the participants for us? Maybe TJ, you want to take this one?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that depends on the sample size as well as the type of study and the type of profile they're looking for. But for a general study, I would say it could take a few days up to a week for a typical study.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think we're like
Thanks.
on time too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad all my practicing paid off. So I hope you guys had a useful session and are curious to try out our platform. Please do. Our free plan is quite extensive in terms of letting you try out the features. Some of the stuff that I showed during the demo is a paid feature with recording, but even the free version gives you a good sense of how to create tasks and all of the things that I've shared. Yeah. Yes, we will be sharing this presentation as well as the templates, all of that. Yeah. Along with the recording. So you can definitely refer back to it. Yes.
If you want to try out the recorded features, right? So website testing, mobile app testing, for example, then we do have a really affordable plan so that you can experience it at just $25. So before you go for the pro plan. So go and try it out.
Yeah, try it out, and more importantly, give me your feedback. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or TJ as well. We're all ears to hear what you think as you try out our platform. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, and have a good afternoon
Thank you.
or bye.
Good morning, depending on where you are.
Yeah, morning, depending on where they're from. Yes, thank you. Okay.